Hi, Jamie. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so nice to meet you too. I'm glad to. I'm glad to
So,
speak with you.
yeah, I'm excited to talk about Lights Out. Now, you play the role of a detective who is, also involved in some shady stuff. Detective Ridgway's motives are kind of kept pretty secretive throughout the film. Did you have to create some sort of story in your head in order to prepare?
Uh, Very much so. It it really it was more of a sketch of a person than a human being per se. And I say that respectfully. Sometimes that actually helps because you have a blueprint and then, you know, you get to um do what any of us loves to do, which is to find the honesty in that person, right? And ultimately, uh, I I really wanted to understand why she was corrupt and what was going on behind that. And these are exercises that we do as actors, as filmmakers all the time, and it's always behind the scenes. And most people don't know how much it takes to make something look effortless. Um, and sometimes in the story, it's not really explained, so it has to be explained per se in and the choices that I make. Um, I spoke to a lot of officers, a lot of detectives, and I didn't want to believe that she was corrupt just for corruption's sake. There had like if there's no stakes, there's no story, and ultimately, um, as any position of power can be abused, right? Um, and as a woman in a film in a position of power, which is rarely allowed. It's almost like they want you to act like a dude, right? Like they want you to act like a man. And that's not always going to work. It's not really the way that things work. Um, so yeah, bottom line is I chose very specific things. I based her off of a particular goddess so I could anchor it into my body that way. And that she had a child and a husband, and the reason why she was corrupt is because she needed to do something very important to save her husband. And that helped me stay rooted and ground. Yeah, that was my truth. That was my truth. That was my truth for it.
Now, she speaks very softly throughout the entire film. Was it a challenge to stay relatively monotone even during those high stakes scenes?
That was also a choice. I find that like there's a lot of yelling and shouting and screaming and things, and that people think that volume has something to do with power. And it doesn't at all. I find that sometimes the most chilling things are the things that are said almost in a whisper. And this juxtaposition of her pain of what she has to do and what she needs, right? It's like that first day my first day on set, it was the scene with myself and Erica Peoples. And when I got there, normally you have rehearsal time. We didn't have any rehearsal time, but I pre-rehearsed obviously at the actors studio for my own self. Um, but not I was in the location. So but when I got to the house, it was like, and I got to the door, I was like, I'm not moving from the door. I'm not moving. I'm like, I'm gonna let these dudes do it. Because in a way, Detective Ridgway is so tired and so focused at the same time, and she does not want to go and do this thing, but she has to go and do this thing. And there's something about that quietness in terms of knowing that this film is very much it's so much action and so many like amazing humans and people that are so brilliant at their craft, and Frankie and Mackay and like Talbot, like all they're so good at what they do, but it's always to me like a sort of symphony of how we create the tension, right? And I really wanted to explore, yeah, the divine feminine per se, of not having to say something too loudly, that what you say is meaningful.
Christian has a strong track record of these action thrillers. What kind of conversations did you have with him during the film to get an understanding of his vision, but also maybe give some input, of your own?
A lot, actually. There was a lot. Chris and I talked consistently since the minute that I was asked to do it. Um, you know, Filmmaking is inherently intimacy, right? It's intimacy. You have to have a communication with your filmmaker. And the script was, again, a very good blueprint, but it needed more specificity, because specificity is the key. We discussed a lot about the stakes in the story and the research that I'd done with detectives and things like that. And I really appreciated his willingness to be flexible and adaptable, right? And me and Frankie and Makai, we all had many notes and things that we wanted to contribute to make this film. And I sincerely admire, um during that time we were still dealing with so many COVID protocols and so many things that were like that. To make a movie was just a gift in itself. um and nobody wanted to, like, to be able to do that was just like insane. Oops, sorry, 1 second, I have to move my car. um was really insane on a very short time period. um it's kind of astonishing like how quickly he did it. But when you have the best people and like great people that are willing to collaborate, like for instance, just now I have to move my car and you're still chilling with me, like you do what you got to do when you got to do it. You know what I mean? We just work through it. um and that's exciting to me, that part, because that's real life.
Well, another one of those great people is Frank Grillo. You've worked with him a few times in the past, Mother's Day being my favorite. What is it
Oh,
like
thanks.
to what's it like to see such an iconic, action guy work?
He's like one of my best friends. So, um and has been since I was 26. And I just love being near him. We live like 2 blocks away from each other. Our friends, our best friend, our kids are like that. We're all a family, and his discipline, his charisma, he's such a loving human being. And there's nothing better than working with friends and creating with friends. It's just a certain sort of like telepathy that happens. And actually Robert Rodriguez taught me a lot about that, about how it's important to consistently work with the people that you love, that there's always something else to be explored there, and in that safety and in that trust, that really beautiful things can happen. Um and so he's such a brilliant, again, such a brilliant actor. He's so brilliant with his body. His and people, I don't think, realize that like fighting is not just like some stunt that someone does, right? Like he does this every single day of his life, and he is a master at it, and he is brilliant. And the work that we do with our physical vessels is so important. And he's just fun. He's super fun. I'm like, again, the best dad. And yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm pleased
Well,
whenever we get to work together.
that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jamie. I really appreciate it, and I hope to speak to you again really soon.
Thank you. I was so happy to speak with you. I was so looking forward to it.